Hey guys, what's up? This is Nefis here, and today we're going to be going over the version 5.1.2 PTS patch notes for week 3 of the Update 23 Scalebreaker DLC for the Elder Scrolls Online. And it is really hot out. It's even hot in here with the AC just going at full blast. I hope those of you hit by the heat wave, you guys are keeping cool, stay safe. Even this picture of the dragon is like making me sweat a little bit. So anyway, I haven't really looked too deep into the patch. I only gave them a very brief glance. So let's go over together, both you and I, and see what has changed. And I'm hoping they have the orb changes in here. I'm pretty sure they do. I think I read it. And I'm actually going to get a group together this week, guys, for PTS rating on Friday at around 9 p.m. US Eastern. So I'll also be streaming it as well for any potential people interested in what it looks like, what it feels like, if healing and trials, healing and endgame content, vet trials in general. I think we'll try to do Luxti's hard mode because it's a very healing intensive fight. We'll try to do Maw of Lorcage, stuff like that, so check it out on my Twitch stream at twitch.tv/NefisQS this Friday. I am still looking for a few more people to fill the raid because, you know, filling a raid on the PTS is definitely harder than filling a raid online, but we really want to see it. A lot of us want to see the heal changes. We really want to test it and give our feedback to ZeniMax. So let's start with the patch notes here real quick, or the PTS patch notes. Basically, they added in the Imperial City Celebration event, whatever. I'm going to be looking more at this in the PvE context, just as a heads up, and not really at anything else right now. Let's see. Many item sets introduced or reworked in this update will receive additional balance tweaks in a future PTS patch. Cool. Hidden Blade and Smorts will now receive some adjustments to how brutality is granted, and Flying Blade will get a targeting responsiveness improvement to activate its special teleport. Okay, Maelstrom's dual wield set is currently enabling too much damage with the damage over time refactor. It will be adjusted to tone down the total weapon, and spell damage will get some improvements to its usability in the fluid rotation. So I don't know if you guys seen the recent video I think Lico put out of him testing DPS, and it's pretty much we've gone back almost to Homestead or pre-Homestead when Maelstrom dual wield was widely used on a lot of Stam characters, and it's kind of generic. It was kind of disappointing to see the video because it's like there's no real class identity, or it seems like everything's sort of like the same. Things are getting homogenized, but looks like they're gonna adjust it. They nerfed it because of Lego. And in the fluid rotation, I'm wondering if this is referring to specifically the Stamina Nightblade PvE rotation, because apparently with the Maelstrom dual wield setup, PvE Stam Blades, the rotation was kind of wonky. Soul Splitting Trap currently bypasses our single target rule set, making it far stronger than other options. This is a known increase, and they'll be adjusting it. Yeah, Soul Trap is pretty ridiculous. Sorcerers currently lack an ability they can utilize to heal their allies with supplemental power, such as a heal over time. Okay, so they might be introducing a class heal, or actual support class heal for the Sorcs. We have some adjustments to the Power Surge Morph of Surge in the future update to help them grant such a tool. So that's kind of exciting. I'm glad they're kind of addressing this too, because the recent healing changes to Orbs and such, it kind of put the Templars and the Wardens above pretty much every other class. And it was just starting to get more interesting in terms of class diversity in the healing department. You had a lot of groups with sword healers, even endgame healers, but score pushers, sword healers, warden healers, Templar healers, and in some instances, Nightblade healers. So it was kind of disappointing to see that suddenly, you know, Templar and warden classes were elevated over the rest. But it seems they want to address that by giving Sorcs some class heal over time ability. I'm kind of interested. I'm really curious to see what it could be. Like, I don't know how they're gonna change Power Surge, something you self buff to become a heal over time. That'll be interesting to see. Let's see, blah 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 blah. Fixed an issue. Okay, this is just fixes for the new DLC dungeons from Scalebreaker. I'm not really gonna look over it. It is PvE, but it's not really got to do with my main concerns as a PvEer. So here we have combat and abilities. We're going to start with Dragon Knight. Okay, let's see if they increase the cost for Dragon Knights again. Corrosive armor, the penetration granted from this ability now applies to the ability itself. And direct damage attacks or channeled attacks like Flurry. So this is definitely a nerf to the Stam DK PvPers. If you would like more insight on this change, please read the developer comment under the two-handed onslaught changes, which has similar adjustments. Fair enough, okay. And Ardent Flame, Searing Heat. Rank 2 of this passive now increases the duration of the affected abilities by 4 seconds, up from 2. Also increases the damage of the abilities by 10%, up from 3%. Interesting. So this is also part of their standardization, new standardization attempts to bring everything in line first and then go from there. And Nightblade, side-fitting drain power, increased the healing by 23.3% since it was missing up rank progression and was being reduced by 20%. If you fail to hit a target with the damage of this ability... Oh, okay. This also fixes the issue... Okay, it's a bug fix, and they also buffed the healing. Sork, Daedric Summoning. It seems they buffed the shields for Sorks. The Sork shields exclusively. It seems Hardened Ward has been increased to 60% of your max health rather than 50%. And then Power Ward has been increased to 50% of your max health from 40%. Interesting. Okay, and they even had more dev comments for that too, in addition to the DK change. Warden, Winter's Embrace, Arctic Wind. Updated the healing from this ability and its morphs to happen faster and be more focused on the initial heal rather than the heal over time. I think this is like the 7th or 8th time they had to like buff Arctic Wind. Because I'm sort of glad to see that they sort of are, because Arctic Wind was kind of mediocre in comparison to other burst heals or even certain heal over time abilities. So I mean, it may be the 8th or 9th or 7th time that they updated the skill in the past few patches, but I'm glad that they are actually doing this. So the initial heal will now scale off 25% of your max health, up from 15%. That's a significant buff. And this is going to be a great thing for definitely both Warden tanks and Warden healers. While the heal over time scales off 3% of your max health, down from 5%. So I guess they're sort of moving it more towards the... I mean, Warden healers can still use it, obviously, but at the same time, the heal over time has been nerfed, but the burst heal has been significantly buffed. So this is greater news for the Warden tanks, for sure, in PvE, than it is for Warden healers, but at the same time, it's a decent trade-off, in my opinion. The heal over time now happens over 5 seconds rather than 10 seconds. Fair enough. Green Balance, Healing Seed. Now, this is something I know a lot of people were talking about on a few Discords. Budding Seeds, this morph now also introduces a heal over time while the area of effect grows. Okay, interesting. If the ability is consumed early, this heal over time is also consumed. So Budding Seeds right now, if you lay it down on the ground and the flowers are growing, whatever, it doesn't actually heal. You have to actually either wait for it to go off after a certain duration to heal the group in like a burst heal, or you can manually proc it a second time to burst heal earlier than the duration would expire. So this is an interesting change. It seems if the ability, okay, so if you proc it early, Budding Seeds, the heal over time is also consumed. This morph now also introduces a heal over time with the area. Okay, I think this is actually a good change, in my opinion. For Warden healers, I just really never... Well, it's personal preference. I'm sure others will disagree with me, but I just never really viewed Budding Seeds as a great heal ability. It was more for synergies in terms of like the context of endgame reigns. So I think this is actually a pretty good change, considering the fact that they are nerfing other aspects of healing next patch. So I honestly like the sound of this change. Two-handed weapon. Okay, this is where they explain. Okay, guys, this is why we did this. This is why we nerfed corrosive armor. Okay. Oh, here it is, Onslaught. These changes were done to reduce situations where you could simply stack multiple damage over time effects on an enemy. Okay, it's not really relevant to PvE for the most part. Restoration stuff, grand healing. Increase the healing per tick of this ability. Ooh, we're finally seeing a sort of buff to healing by approximately 50% to better distinguish each morph. Healing springs being focused on resource sustain, and illustrious healing focused on raw healing potential. So there's two issues with this, or rather an issue with this. While I like that they sort of stepped back and looked at the general nerfs to healing and said, well, maybe this is a bit too much, and that we should probably buff one morph over the other, because it's like, well, why wouldn't you take healing springs? Because illustrious healing in the original PTS patch note, it was just basically increased duration. Like, no one really, if you're a healer, no one really cares about the increased duration for healing springs or illustrious healing. Excuse me. So the way they did this was okay, I guess. They made it so that you could choose, but at the same time, there's an issue with that, because it's basically, well, why would you pick healing springs now? It's not hard. Okay, well, think about this. On live right now, it's not even hard keeping up either morph. Your magic sustain as a healer does not really suffer most of the time if you use illustrious healing. However, if you take into consideration that you can't stack grand healing anymore, the healing springs or illustrious heals as of the Scalebreaker PTS, and you don't need to spam it because it's a long duration now, 9 to 12 seconds, why wouldn't you pick illustrious healing? It's like there's no negative effect on your sustain at all. It's more healing. So at the same time, yes, they sort of gave healers something, but at the same time they basically didn't really they just made one morph better than the other. I mean, it's basically a reversal. Like, there's no real change here. But I'm glad they actually sort of gave healers something. I think this change could potentially offset some of the healing nerfs for sure. And again, like I said to you guys at the beginning of the video, I do plan on raiding on the PTS this week. Armor. Okay, I don't know why this is under weapon. Shouldn't be under armor. Annulment increase the size of the shield to 50% of your max health from 40%. And dampen increases it from 50% to 60%. Interesting. So they sort of reversed, not really completely reversed, but they sort of stepped back from what they did back in the Murkmire, or infamously known as the Nerfmire patch, with the shields. So this is going to be interesting. I believe the cost was okay, so the cost was increased as well. So Undaunted. So this is actually gonna be the biggest change most of us have been waiting for. A lot of people have been waiting for, and you know, I've been getting a lot of people commenting on the forums directly to me, or commenting on my videos. Oh, you guys are complaining too much. Oh, you guys are whining about orbs. You're an embarrassment to the community. And I'm just like, well, you guys don't really have any experience with healing. You don't really know what it actually is like in PvE content, what these changes mean. So this is a very significant thing we need to keep an eye on still. And again, I'm going to be testing this on the PTS. And finally, they did say they were going to release this iteration of the orb change in PTS week 2, but then they didn't, which was kind of disappointing because we really need to test this. And PTS week 3, right now, they have finally released a second iteration. Not only that, but it seems they actually buffed the healing done of Energy Orb. The one of the two morphs of Necrotic Orb, the other being Mystic Orb, the blue orbs, and by approximately 20%. So each healing tick has been buffed by 20%, and not just that, but they did come through on their promise here, that combustion and healing combustion, the synergies of all the morphs and the base skill. These synergies will no longer remove their parent abilities. What this means is, let's say you are a healer behind 8 DPS. You put out one orb. Every single one of those 8 DPS can now pop that orb. It doesn't disappear. It still continues to heal. And everyone gets the synergy. That's a pretty insane change. It's like They should have probably came out with this change in the week 1, sort of. I mean, again, I have to actually see this in a raid to determine how it really is, what I really think about it. But so far, in my opinion, the changes look fine. The buff to Illustrious Heals and the slight buff to the Orb healing ticks, they seem to be actually looking at the numbers, and they actually seem to be reconsidering some of the nerfs, which is good news. So this is gonna be a pretty big thing to keep an eye on for PvE. In a lot of instances, in a lot of fights, this is actually gonna be pretty strong. The fact that everyone can synergize one orb, it's gonna be pretty strong. But in certain fights, I'm not sure yet, and that's what we're gonna probably see on the PTS. And they explained why. And we have some adjustments to food, enchantment, okay, and here Night Flame looks like they nerfed it. so they gave us some stuff and then took away some stuff. Okay, so Bogdan Night Flame, let's see. This item set now has a 10% chance to proc and healing, up from 5%. Increase the cooldown to 10 seconds from 6 seconds. Fixed an issue where the set could critically strike, critically heal. Reduced the healing per tick by approximately 27%. Wow, that's a straight up nerf. I mean, it doesn't really kill the set, but it's just a straight up nerf. So you might be asking, okay, well, they increased the cooldown, they nerfed the healing, done. But isn't it good that it procs more, Nephis? And no, not really, because Bogdan right now, even with the 5% chance in raids, it's irrelevant. It pretty much procs, like, most of the times when you actually do need the proc. So it's not, the proc chance was never an issue. It never has been an issue since healers started using it. And I'm not exactly sure if we could even replace Bogdan Night Flame, the monster set, regardless of this nerf or not, as healers. I don't know which set you'd run for very healing intensive fights like Cloud Rest, Hard Mode, Execute, when you need to heal up everyone in the tanks. So I'm not sure. Again, something to test. Sentinel Rokrugams, they reduce the healing per tick, whatever, by approximately 5%. Reduce the stamina per tick, return from 524 to 500. Interesting. And 7th Legion, fixed an issue. We're casting Hurricane and proc the set multiple times. Thunderous Volley. This item set will now retain its bonus if you bar swap before it can register its damage. Rejoice, as you no longer need to sit around twiddling your thumbs before continuing your rotation. So for those of you who don't know, this is basically the Maelstrom Bow 2-piece bonus, I'm pretty sure. And what will happen is, if you bar swap animation cancel Endless Hail into your front bar rotation, your Maelstrom Bow bonus wouldn't apply. So that's basically why a lot of people recommend putting Endless Hail, then Caltrips, then Light Attack, Poison Injection, blah blah blah, and so on, and then you swap bar. So I guess it's a good quality of life change. Everything else, true. Combat and gameplay, fixed an issue where attack telegraphs could be inaccurate. Fixed an issue where, okay. And a lot of you guys have been asking me, okay, well, are they ever going to fix these desync issues we've been seeing everywhere in PvE, overland, trials, dungeons? Yes, they are. They actually addressed that in the first PTS patch notes, version 5.1.0, in update 23. They said they're going to fix it, or I mean, they're trying to promise a lot of fixes, so I'm kind of wary about this. Hopefully, everything does get fixed that they say they're gonna fix. Crafting reds, okay. Removed Swift. Interesting. Huh. Fixed an issue we cannot obtain. Okay, well, there's not much else in regards to PvE trials or healer wise. Seems we have a change to guilds. I mean, this is something I'm also keeping my eye on in regards to multi-bidding. The 10 spot thing is kind of ridiculous, so I hope they actually do maybe tone it down a bit. But yeah, guys, that is pretty much it for the week 3 PTS patch notes. Some good changes here and there, especially in regards to the healing. I am definitely excited to test it out on the PTS and see where we go from there. To see if potentially anything should be adjusted in terms of the healing. Other than that, the Scalebreaker DLC patch notes seem fine for the most part, and looks like I'm really eager for the fixes too, especially in regards to the desync issue. If you guys enjoyed this video and so on, I highly recommend you guys subscribe and click that bell button. And I will see you guys next time. As always, stay safe, have fun, and see you next time. Bye. Bye.